Folks, welcome into sportsbookreview.com. It is Friday, October 16th, 2020. This is your Major League Baseball show. Typically, we'd be looking at a football Friday, but the gods have answered, Jason, and gave us two more baseball games and two elimination games here on a Friday. Taking a look at the games yesterday, we both thought the easiest one of the day would be the Los Angeles Dodgers team total over. And look at that, an absolute dominant performance out of the Atlanta Braves starting pitcher and also bullpen action. And my contrarian view is like, hey, you know what? Let me go ahead and play that Atlanta Braves team total over. Didn't look that good early. Sixth inning happened. They blew past it. And how about this? Those Atlanta Braves heading possibly to the World Series if they win tonight. Good stuff on deck today. I'm Donnie Seymour. He's Jason Radowitz. Let's get after it. Major League Baseball for sure, Jason. An interesting day yesterday with a walk-off home run. And then Clayton Kershaw, when you really needed him, gave you 5 strong, but just couldn't get through the 6th.
Another fun day of baseball. Like you would ask the baseball gods to give us 2 games today, and Correa gave you that. So we can't complain. I can't complain due to my Dodgers bet. Bryce Wilson looked like Cy Young out there. Nothing you can do about that. But like we always talk about, don't put too much money on the playoffs in the MLB. I know it's fun. I know it's national television. I know you want to get your money in there, but it's so, we talk about any playoffs out there. Baseball is the hardest sport to bet in the postseason due to so many different things, of course, with the pitchers, with hitting, with fielding. I shouldn't even get into it, but it's really hard. It's almost like a flip of a coin. So again, be weary of how much you're putting on these games. Be cautious and don't make crazy mistakes, because just like you saw last night, the Dodgers got absolutely smoked by Bryce Wilson, who I went down the list of every single number, and it was all poor. And then he gave us Cy Young. And now we're here with another loss on our record.
Yep, in a neutral site environment, in a big spot where you would have figured the Dodgers, who finally woke up out of their slumber at the plate, and you thought they would be able to be one of those wrecking crews again. And when you say wrecking crew, you don't need 10 runs. 3 runs over the first 5, couple an extra in, and you got it underway. But it was a really interesting day. But that Atlanta Braves team total over saved me yesterday. And also, I was looking, saying, hey, you know what? Here we go, the Dodgers, Jason, back into the series, looking decent again with my minus 106 for the Dodgers price. Then I look at the series price today after another loss by the Dodgers. Now plus 330, down 3-1. It is going to be extremely tough to come back and certainly get a victory in the series to move on. But then again, we're taking a look at the Houston Astros series and the Rays. Rays still a minus 500. They're going to have their ace on the mound today, which is always a good thing. But is it one of those things, before we break down the game, where you want Tampa Bay, if you're Tampa Bay, this is the spot you want, right? Closeout situation with Snell, which tends me to believe that they're going to have more pressure in this game, because now you're starting to feel it, where maybe the pressure was off and Tampa Bay was just going to easily move on to the World Series. Not the case right now. They got to get this game with Snell today. If not, the pressure really gets ratcheted up for a Game 7 here. Should be interesting.
And the Rays and Astros, they did the right thing yesterday by going with their, spot starter relief guys. But now we have Framber Valdez going up against Blake Snell. It's an exciting matchup. We got the aces that already faced each other once already this season in Game 1, in the postseason in Game 1. It's going to be interesting. I think, what you're going to see, even with the Dodgers and Braves, you're going to see spot starters there too, most likely, especially for the Braves. So you're seeing a lot of interesting managing, probably, smart managing. Astros, got the job done when they needed to the most. They needed that win. And now you'll have Valdez for Game 6, you'll have McCullers for Game 7, and you can actually get this series down 3-0 and come back 4-3 with those 2 guys on the mound. So the Astros, they did it perfectly. But the Rays did too. The Rays have Snell, and they'll probably have Morton going Game 7. So they have quality stuff going. And if the Rays were to win this series, let's say in Game 7, Glasnow will start it off. And that's pretty good to start off for the Rays if you're starting Game 1 there. The managing's been terrific so far, I thought, from both sides in terms of starting pitching. But it's obviously kind of hurt when it comes to betting. It's impossible to figure these guys out.
Yeah, let's get right into it here. Out west, first game of the day, 9:01, 9:02, 6:07 Eastern start, which means a 3 o'clock start. And the reason I like to bring that up with that time differentiation is that's the time that you sort of get some shadows mixed in. But keep in mind, this is a really nice day out in San Diego. Mid-80s by the time we get under first pitch, so the ball should be able to fly. But then again, you're going to have two decent pitchers on the mound as well. Framber Valdez, the lefty, will be on the mound for the Houston Astros. If we take a look at Tampa Bay, their ace on the mound, Snell, the lefty, also 7 out of every 10 tickets here showing up at SBRodds.com are coming in on Tampa Bay to close out the series today. But how about this? 7 out of 10 tickets, usually pushing that money around. Line opens up, Jason, at Pinnacle Offshore, 129. You know what I'm seeing at Pinnacle right now? Still a 129. Chris, 131. William Hill, 130. The New Jersey books are a little bit more juice, so bet 365 minus 145. But even FanDuel and DraftKings in that 130 range. So in a closeout game situation, you have your ace on the mound. Not a lot of credence going in despite all that large ticket count coming in. Now, when we take a look at the pitchers on the season, they've been really good. Framber Valdez, you're looking at a 3.57 ERA and a 2.85 FIP. And then if we take a look at Blake Snell, 3.24 ERA with a slightly higher 4.35 FIP, but then it dips back down because both of these guys, look at their xFIPs here, Jason, 2.94 for Valdez and a 3.06 for Snell. It's almost a matter of not really riding the hot hand because these games have been close. And if we remember in the first part of the series, if you could get a couple runners across the plate with runners in scoring position for the Astros and maybe not a big-time error, a few errors out of Jose Altuve, one might think that the Houston Astros are already moving on to play in the World Series. So take a look at breaking this down. This is the slimmest of margins, and just to a common eye, people are just going to look at that and be like, wait a second, I'm going to get Snell and what I think would be the better team at just 129 or 130. I'm going to be on the Rays all day. But that line is staying firm for a good reason here.
Yeah, well, we saw this game earlier, game one. Both these pitchers, they put on solid performances. It was a 2-1 game. Obviously, the Rays won that game, but it was 2-1. Some solid pitching. And, the thing with Valdez, this is a guy, he gets a ton of ground balls, solid strikeout rate, doesn't walk too many batters, although he struggled versus the Rays in that last start in game one. But a guy that usually doesn't walk too many batters. Last year, he did. So he kind of really improved this year in terms of walks this year. Just in the regular season, there's just 2.04 walks per 9 innings, which is really good. Also, home runs were just 0.64 per 9 innings. Really good showing from him. Of course, in the regular season, he also got 60% of ground balls. That's been the same story in this postseason. He's done a great job getting ground balls throughout the entire postseason, limiting fly balls. So, like you said, the ball might carry, the ball might fly, but if it's on the ground, it can't fly. And that's what, Framber's done really well, keeping the ball down, getting strikeouts. That's the thing that he's been really terrific with, a 2.00 ERA in 18 innings pitched in the playoffs. Then you go on to Snell, a 2.87 ERA in the playoffs and 15.2 innings pitched. He still hasn't gone 6 innings yet in any start this season. So, again, you're not going to see him go any deeper than over, 5.1, 5.2 innings pitched. He probably won't finish 6 innings in this game. I don't even know if that's a bet, but if it is, I would definitely take that. Shows you I haven't done my homework on that. But, the thing with, Snell, in his last game versus the Astros, had just 2 strikeouts in 5 innings. Just 2 strikeouts. And Snell, 11.34 strikeouts per 9 innings throughout the regular season. This is a guy that has always been a high strikeout guy, but the Astros are a low strikeout team, especially against lefties. And, the Astros had a lot of fly balls against Blake Snell in that first game. Obviously didn't get, a ton of home runs. I think it was just 1 home run in that game, a solo shot. But, again, just 2 strikeouts, a ton of fly balls from Snell for the Astros. So, Snell's a guy that usually dominates the first time around the order, then starts to struggle the second, third time around the order. And that's, of course, why he's never, gone 6 innings this season. The Rays are quick on their feet. They'll go to their bullpen. They love their bullpen. They appreciate those guys, and it's probably the best bullpen in the majors. So with that said, I do think the Astros get the win here at plus 115, around that range as an underdog. But I also like the under 4.5 in the first 5 innings. Valdez, he does struggle in that first round of the lineup. If he gets through that round unscathed or just allowing 1 or 2 runs, he'll get back on his feet. He'll find his rhythm. He'll settle down. He'll pitch well. And then Snell, on the other hand, he does really well in the first half, the first round of the lineup. Second and third time, he starts to struggle a little bit, but this is a guy that I think will be able to get the job done. Probably get some fly balls, get some outs there. Strikeouts should be a little bit higher than just 2 per those 5 innings. I think he'll get more strikeouts in this game. And then we talk about these pressure situations. When we see these pressure situations, these stay or go home kind of games, we always see how these teams start to just their offense just start to lag and not do too much. There's so much pressure. But in those pressure situations, it seems like it's the pitchers, especially starters, and ace pitchers like Framber and Blake that do a lot better than the lineup. So therefore, under 4.5 in the first 5 at -124 would be my official play in this game.
Yeah, it seems to make a lot of sense there because you're talking about, again, high-pressure situations, 2 good pitchers, and we always like to use that same combo saying, hey, you can hit all the home runs you want, but if these guys are hitting the ball on the ground, it's not going to leave the ballpark. So that is a big additive when you're looking for those, as I like to say, one swing of the bat gets you 2 runs. If it's on the ground, one swing of the bat could get you 2 outs and not 2 runs in that environment. Over 100 people currently watching the show. We do thank you, but more importantly here, 71,100 people have now subscribed to our channel here, right here on YouTube. Just yesterday, up another about 100 people. That's fantastic stuff. Thank you guys for sticking with us and watching throughout the entire Major League Baseball season as we carry you right through to the World Series. Coming in the chat box, Ron Sanders, Antoine, Ron, Barry, Randy, Gabriel, Malik, Antoine. Thank you guys for coming and spending your lunch break with us on a Football Friday to talk a doubleheader of Major League Baseball. But getting back to this game and looking at some individual numbers, both of these pitchers, as we say, they're very good pitchers and keep the ball on the ground. But it's interesting that if you want to get a good matchup here with the Tampa Bay Rays, you want them going up against a left-handed pitcher. Take a look at some of these things. Now, Randy Arozarena, a 529 ISO, which I didn't even know was even possible in Major League Baseball, outside of like one at bat that you hit 1 home run and that's all you had. But his weighted on base average, also a 561. The rest of this lineup with Lau, 323, Brousseau, 385, Renfroe, 380, Adames, 236, Satsugo, 189, and Zunino, 273. These guys hit for power against lefties. But here's the issue that always comes in, and I know Jason talks about strikeouts, and it's always a big thing in the chat box. Anytime you have the Rays come up to the plate, there's a legitimate shot. Their first 4 batters aren't heavy on strikeouts, but let's take a look at the anticipated lineup 5 through 9 tonight. Brousseau, 31%, Renfroe, 32%, Adames, 30%, Satsugo, 37%, and always my favorite, Mike Zunino versus lefties, 44% of the time he comes up, he doesn't even make contact with a sits down with a strikeout. So anytime you get some strikeout prop bets, they're certainly going to be live. Flipping it over to the Houston batters here versus left-handed pitching. Decent this year. Springer's got a 254 ISO, Altuve 296, and also Yuri Gurriel 236. Everybody else around that average spot. But the one thing they don't do all that well, or I should say do very well, is not strike out. Brantley 15%, Altuve 17%, Bregman 8%, Tucker 13%, Gurriel 7%. So putting the ball in play, we'll see how that comes to contact. But again, getting back to Jason's point here, hitting the ball on the ground certainly does make a difference. Second game, kind of hard for us here to cap, but then again, it probably should be easy for us to cap because every time we see one of these games where we don't really know who's pitching and then we find out, oh, look at this tomato can is going to come in and pitch. Seems like they do pretty well, but the Dodgers and that huge payroll, they are backed up against the wall. The World Series favorites now find themselves down 3-1. You have May that's going to go on the mound, and I love him. And because a lively fastball, able to hit 100 miles an hour. We'll see how long he stays in the game, but we're still waiting to see who that Atlanta Braves starting pitcher is actually going to be in this game. But from the looks of that Atlanta bullpen and what they're able to do, and they were even talking about, Jason, like that sort of like, in disguise, it was actually really good that the Braves got absolutely unloaded on 2 games ago because they didn't have to waste their bullpen. And they were even saying like, hey, if it was like a 5-4 game, we might have had to throw our top bullpen guys out there in the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th inning, and that wouldn't be good for the rest of the series. Paid dividends last night. Here we go again. Not sure of the starter for Atlanta. We know who's on for the Dodgers, but how about this, Jason? Are we going to pay a -200 here? I didn't want to pay -200 with Kershaw on the mound.
Yeah, I think this is hard, right? And we don't have too many props, too many lines to go off of course, because we don't have a Brave starter at this moment. It'll likely be Josh Tomlin. I would be shocked if it wasn't Josh Tomlin, because I would assume the Braves go, Fried the next game, and then if they have to go to Game 7, they have Ian Anderson. So let's say they drop this game and they say, okay, Dodgers win. Now it's 3-2 in the series. You have Fried in Game 6. And if you don't win that, you have Anderson in Game 7, who's been phenomenal throughout the entire postseason. So I think the Braves are going to be comfortable going with a Josh Tomlin or going with a bullpen game here. And you would assume the Dodgers should be able to hit whoever is pitching, whether that's Tomlin or that's the relief pitching from the Braves through 9 innings. Tomlin, for example, he's thrown 5 starts, 17 games throughout the entire season. This is a guy who, got solid strikeouts, 8.17, not terrible. Only walked 1.82 batters per 9 innings. This is the guy, Tomlin. He's never really walked too many batters throughout his entire career. He's had some good moments. But what scares me on Tomlin, he doesn't have a great ground ball rate. It's a lot of hard contact, a lot of stuff that's in play in the air, and the Dodgers can definitely do some damage there. I think last night we saw the Dodgers have a ton of fly balls reach the warning track, and they kind of just missed it. But I think the Dodgers really are the favorites in this game by a big margin, as long as Fried or Anderson not starting. So when I say take the Dodgers at minus 200, I wouldn't, but I think there's a lot of different ways you can look at the Dodgers, whether that's first 5, minus 0.5, whether that's just the first 5, whether that's the run line, minus 1.5. I do think the Dodgers win this game with Tomlin on the mound. But don't forget, Tomlin, he's a veteran pitcher. He's been, in playoff games before. It's not like he's a terrible pitcher or a young pitcher we just don't know about. But again, he's not confirmed as a starter. I would be shocked if he wasn't the starter, but yeah, I mean, he's not confirmed, of course. But if you want to talk about Dustin May, this is a guy, he was a major prospect coming into the league. Hasn't started a game in the postseason, but has pitched in relief. 4.2 innings pitched, no runs, just 1 hit, 6 strikeouts and 2 walks. He had a great regular season, a 3-1 record with a 2.57 ERA. His road ERA was a 2.77. He allowed 8 earned runs in 26 innings pitched on the road. Righty struggled versus him throughout the entire season. Lefties did a little bit better, and they definitely walked. So, guys like Freddie Freeman might get a couple walks there, might have a little bit better chance of getting on base. But May has dominated versus righties throughout the entire season. And when you look at that Braves lineup, it's mostly right-handed batters. I think May shuts them down. I can't talk about the Braves and their pitching in terms of the Dodgers bats, but I do think Dustin May shuts the Braves down in this game. But of course, once Dustin May comes out of the game, who knows what could happen? We saw what the Braves have done to the Dodgers bullpen throughout the entire series, and that can change the entire game. So maybe playing at first 5, the Dodgers would be the play in this one, but we don't have a line right now to go off of.
No, certainly don't. And obviously, we're talking about baseball here on a Friday. By next week, we'll only be talking about the World Series. So something's going to get decided this weekend between both the American League and the National League. But it is kind of tough because even looking on odds boards right now, we like to give out team totals and, totals. You're not getting that just yet from the Dodgers. But that's how important these games are. And that's how much these managers and front offices stress. This isn't one of those regular, we're just going to get this guy next Tuesday. We'll get him a spot starter the night before. Let's just go with a bullpen. They don't know because they're trying to crunch the numbers as best possible to give themselves the best chance of winning today. I'm rooting for the Dodgers not because I don't like the Braves or even like the Dodgers, but I always like to see when baseball series could possibly go to a Game 7. Those high leverage situations are a lot of fun to talk about. But getting back to that Houston-Tampa Bay game, looking overall, 8s across the board. And yes, I already prefaced the show by saying it's 85 degrees. It's really good hitting conditions. But to be honest, when you look at this pitching matchup, it's perfect for both sides. And even by saying that Tampa Bay does have a pretty good matchup with Valdez, what do we mean by pretty good matchups? That mean they can get to 5 or 6 runs against the Houston Astros? In this type of situation, Snell, the minute he starts to get on some fumes there, maybe 5th or 6th inning, they're going to go to that dominant bullpen. I just don't see a lot of runs, almost similar to a game yesterday, maybe a walk-off solo home run or a bottom of the 9th or something like that to get it done. I like the under 8 in that first game. I'll go against the trend of me usually liking overs and, team totals, because I did have a Tampa Bay team total over 3.5 circled, but the more I look at it, it's going to take 9 to beat me in this game and 2 good pitchers on the mound today. I'm going to go with the under in that game. From that first game, since we don't have too much from the second game, what are you looking at as maybe a best better banker from that first game, Jason, with Houston and Tampa Bay?
Yeah, so I like the under 4.5 in the first 5 innings at minus 124. 2 ace pitchers on the mound. These are the number 1 pitchers on both sides. They're going to need to put in some good performances. And like I always say, in these pressure spots, it usually benefits the pitchers and it harms the batters. You start seeing batters kind of reaching, swinging at bad pitches and just doing silly things that maybe they shouldn't have done or they wouldn't have done in the regular season when the game is on the line or the season's on the line. So I like under 4.5 in the first 5. I also think the Astros win the game. So if you like that plus money on the Astros in this game, they're at plus 115 or maybe plus 20 at some areas. However, if they get a game 7, the Astros right now on the series are like plus 350. So if you like the Astros to win this game, you have Lance McCullers on the mound for game 7. And McCullers looked incredible in that first start versus the Rays in that game 2. You can look at that and say, okay, Astros plus 360 if you think they're going to win today. So keep that in mind if you want to take a little bit of fire on the Astros in this game and on the series.
No, and I agree with you on that end. I think Tampa Bay probably gets a good shot. But again, the fan of me wants Houston to win, even though I don't like Houston, and then also the Dodgers to win. So nice little doubleheader here of action on a Friday. Quick 20-minute show to get you guys in and out. We know you got a busy weekend with college football and the NFL, but it's always nice to talk Major League Baseball. And at least you're right. The gambling gods did smile down, even if it cost us a little bit of money along the way. It's always nice to get some extra games and get a shot to get your money back here. But guys, once again, thank you for tuning in. 21 thumbs up here, 150 people watching live in the chat box. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Me and Jason are going to hunker down, watch some football, and then we'll be back next week to talk World Series action, series prices, games, breakdowns, a whole lot of fun right here on deck on sportsbookreview.com. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Donnie Seymour. He's Jason Radowitz. We are sportsbookreview.com, and this was your Friday Major League Baseball show. Have a good weekend, guys.